Apologies for the croaky voice, but I need to get a few things off my chest. The last 3 years, approximately, has proven that the human race can be pretty stupid at times. Here's a non-exhaustive list of things I found incredibly stupid. Number 1. Arrows at entrances. In order to stop the spread of an airborne pathogen, arrows were placed at entrances of shops to make sure people filed in through one lane and filed out through another. Nobody really understood the science, but overzealous door guards enforced it nonetheless. I wonder if airborne pathogens knew this. Did the pathogens floating through the air follow human directions and stay in their lanes? Clearly, arrows at entrances are stupid. Number 2. Announcing pronouns. I'm Kamala Harris. My pronouns are she and her. I am a woman sitting at the table wearing a blue suit. Although this sort of nonsense has been on the horizon for quite some time now, it's only recently that it's hit my workplace. My position is clear. I'm never going to announce my pronouns, and I think peer pressuring people to do so is just plain wrong. I'm all for people living their lives as they see fit, but that doesn't mean I have to go along with them. Although this act of announcing one's pronouns is being performed under the guise of inclusivity, it's actually rather more sinister. It's controlling and coercive. Here's a clue. My pronouns are I, me, my, and your pronouns are you, your, yours. If you really don't know if I'm a he or a she, or anything in between, then you can just call me by my first name. Hi Sally. Hi Rick. How are you today? I'm fine. How about you? Yeah, I'm good. By the way, Sally, what are your pronouns? F off, Rick. Announcing pronouns, stupid. Number 3, check-in apps. I only ever checked in twice at my university, and then the powers that be decided that we had to start checking in to every building on campus we visited throughout the day. I told my supervisor that I wasn't going to do that because on average I had to walk between 8 and 12 buildings every day. She told me that if I wasn't willing to do it, I'd have to work from home. I said, okay, and I've never been back since. How many lives did these apps actually save, by the way? I'd guess 0, or close to 0. I know these rules are gone now, but for an academic institution who's meant to be run by intelligent people, for them to go along with these draconian rules, stupid. Number 4. Dots on the floor. Apparently, standing on these dots 1.5 meters apart will stop the spread of an airborne pathogen. When the person ahead of you moves forward and you move forward to take their place, apparently the air they were breathing in and out just moments before no longer has any pathogens in it, or are somehow able to follow the person. Yeah, stupid. Number 5. Labour election promises. I'm normally fairly neutral towards Labour. I'm not a fan, but I usually don't actively despise them. But in the run-up to the federal election in May, Anthony Albanese promised to address cost of living issues facing the poorest Australians. 4 months on, those very same Australians are facing the worst cost of living crisis in a generation. People are skipping meals, skipping medication, can't afford their rent, with some even moving back in with their parents. Sure, a lot of these issues were outside the government's control. So my question is this: why make promises you can't keep? Obviously, the answer is to get more votes. Labour election promises, stupid. Number 6, outdoor mask mandates, especially when you're by yourself or in a car by yourself, stupid. Number 7, the police who enforced outdoor mask mandates. Stupid. Number 8, indoor mask mandates, except when you're sitting at a table. Yes, if you sit down without a mask, airborne pathogens can't travel between tables. Stupid. Number 9, forced gender equality. I've been getting these emails over the last couple of years from my employer stating that the next academic board elections will be held to appoint 1 female academic staff member. Surely this is bordering on illegal. If they said the same thing, but with a male instead, there would be protests, would there not? Queensland Police tried enforcing a quota system of 50-50 males to females. The result was that lots of lesser applicants were employed simply because they were female, while 200 meritorious males were excluded because they weren't. In some cases, ineligible women had been selected over male applicants, with 6 of these women graduating from the academy despite them failing to meet the minimum entry standards. And of course, there were police shortages, and still are, with the police now trying to recruit teenagers to make up the numbers. I don't know about you, but if there's been a burglary at my house and 2 male detectives rock up to investigate, or if 2 female detectives rock up instead, I don't care. All I care is that the police are doing their jobs. I certainly wouldn't say, "Oh, I was expecting at least 1 male and 1 female to attend. This is an outrage." Would we expect the National Ballet to enforce 50-50 gender ratios? Or kindergarten teachers to consist of half males? It's just a fact that more males want to become police officers than females. It's just a fact that more females want to become ballerinas. That's not controversial, but forced gender equality is. It's stupid. Number 10, hand sanitizer. I'm all for washing my hands, don't get me wrong, but during the pandemic, we were told to sanitize our hands over and over again to prevent the spread of an airborne pathogen. I wonder what percentage of infections occurred due to lack of sanitizer use. Does anybody know? Regardless, my conclusion is the same. Stupid. Number 11, elbow bumps. Apparently, using your elbow instead of shaking a person's hand prevents the spread of an airborne pathogen, even though your heads are closer together. Stupid. Number 12, plastic screens. When I speak to the person at the register, we usually can't hear each other through the plastic screens, so of course we lean around the side of the screen to communicate properly. Unless these screens are fully enclosed, hermetically sealed boxes, they pretty much meet the definition of stupid. Number 13, person limits in shops. The local supermarket I went to had a limit of 249 people based on their internal area, to stop the spread. First of all, nobody ever checked how many people were going in and out, although some Kmarts did pretend to do this. Secondly, 249 people in an enclosed space isn't going to prevent the spread of an airborne pathogen. As with most rules during this pandemic, it's clearly stupid. Number 14, check-in apps. Yeah, I know, I've already mentioned them before, but I thought these apps were so stupid that they were worth mentioning twice. Whenever I went to the supermarket, I either didn't check in or I pretended I was checking in. Only on 2 occasions did somebody ever approach me. On both occasions, I lied. "Did you check in, sir?" "Yes." "Oh, okay. What are they going to do? They don't have any legal authority to check my phone to see if I checked in." Obviously, all of this was never about safety. This was always about government overreach, power, and control. And I don't like people trying to control me, so I resisted these measures at every opportunity, and I hope many of you did too. Check-in apps were, of course, stupid. And number 15, the most stupid of them all, vaccine mandates. This is not me saying that vaccines are stupid, but the mandates certainly are. They resulted in people losing their jobs. They resulted in a divided society where only certain people could visit a restaurant, for example. They resulted in an increase of people becoming distrustful of the health authorities. They resulted in a growing resentment towards government in general. And now, thanks to these stupid mandates, less families are getting their children vaccinated against other illnesses. Yeah, these vaccine mandates really screwed society. I've always said, if there was a killer pathogen floating around that was taking out large numbers of people all around us, and there was a simple injection you could take to stop yourself from dying from it, then the government wouldn't have to mandate anything. People would race out and get it. The fact that the government did mandate it was very telling. That's when alarm bells started to ring in my head. You don't need to mandate something that's highly desirable or that people need. If I haven't said it before, vaccine mandates are completely stupid. Although a lot of these things have since disappeared, we still have remnants of this disastrous period of human civilization. plastic screens, used masks strewn across the environment, dots on the floor that they can't peel off, bottles of hand sanitizer attached to the walls, although I found that many of these bottles are never refilled anymore. Sure, some people still wear masks, and that's fine. I'm all for people doing things that they want to do voluntarily. But the moment governments try to mandate these things, the moment they try to tell you that these things are no longer voluntary, and if you don't do it, they'll fine you, or worse, is when people like me and you stand up and say no.